Coach, obviously, coming off another loss, what do you kind of, want to see from your team this week as you get ready for a crucial road game here against A&M?
We got 2 games left. Most coaches at this point in the year are lamenting the fact that, hey, we should have won this one or we could have won that one. And if you're a realist, you say, hey, we could have lost that one too. And we have, some of those as well. And, the season's a marathon and we're going down the stretch run. And so, like I've been talking about for the last week or so with you guys and our players, the analogy of, the game and the season, getting down to the last few minutes. And that's where we're at. So they all matter the same. They all count as a win or a loss, and they stay with you all year long. But when the opportunities dwindle, they become bigger, and that's where we're at. And going into a week where we got to play 2 really good teams, one away from home, one from home, and we can talk numbers and we can talk, prognosticators, but the reality of it is what I always tell people that will listen is you just got to win games. That solves all the problems, and that's going to be our focus heading into the week is trying to figure out how we can win some basketball games.
Paul, go ahead for 2.
In your 2 years here, you've said it a lot when your team's coming off a loss or see how they'll respond, and pretty much most of the time, not to jinx you, but your guys have responded when their backs are against the wall and needing to win. How much does that give you confidence? And I know you got confidence in them, but coming down this home stretch and then coming off a couple losses, how much of those previous experiences and seeing the way they bounce back kind of give you confidence in them?
Yeah, the fact that I have confidence in them is one thing, but the fact that they have confidence in each other is more important. It's not like I've got to try to mentally trick them into thinking that they're better than they are, or that they can find a way to do something they haven't done as a group prior. Because, like you just said, we have. We've been in some holes and we've dug ourselves out of those holes, and we're back in a situation where I think we all need to get that feel good, running through our veins again. And the only way to do that is to play well and to win. And but no question about it, I think for all of us, we've been there, done that. Like you said, we've had good responses most of the time. And I expect the same heading into this week.
How much difference do you see in A&M this year? Obviously still got Taylor and Radford in pretty good backcourt, but any differences you see in them this year compared to last year?
They're very similar in terms of who they are. Coach Williams has built quite a culture down there. When you're going to play his team that you're going to be in for, a back alley scrap, and they're going to get after you. And their prowess this year is especially on the backboards. They lead the country in offensive rebounding, and it's something that we pride ourselves in, but we've taken a back seat thus far to their numbers and how they get it done each and every game. So they're similar in terms of, the play hard factor, the toughness factor, what they rely on. They've got such veteran guards with Radford and Taylor, and, they've done it all. And no moment's been too big for them. And, that going down the stretch here, they're going to be trying to lead their team. The only thing would be different is, they may not have quite the scoring around the basket, but to make up for that, they've unleashed their forwards to be just offensive rebounding machines and creating extra possessions for their team. So they found ways to make up for that area.
Justin and Benjamin, the coaches left.
Chris, we've asked, all there is regarding Josh, but just curious, why do you think he hasn't, hit that freshman wall at all this year that many guys have and allowed him to be, as productive as he has been this late in the year?
Yeah, I don't know much about the proverbial wall, but I understand people use it a lot. It happens, I guess, to players. They don't have to be freshmen either, to be honest with you. I think again, I can't speak for him, but I would imagine that a lot of it has to do with the way he takes care of himself. His training, just knowing his background and what he's done to work himself into being the player and person, even equally important that he is today, has got to have something to do with, all of the success, that he's had thus far. And to your point, he continues to have that bounce, and he continues to be able to be productive. And most importantly for me is, he works on his deficiencies. Everybody sees the scoring and the jump shot and the speed and all that, but what they don't see is his work, on his game when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. And that's what any coach would love to see, and that's what I love to see about Josh, and he just continues to try to get better.
And just a follow-up to that, obviously they play different positions, but do you see any similarities with him and Teddy Allen from your time at New Mexico State, just in terms of being a bucket getter when a play breaks down, and how important it is to have a guy like that at this time of the year, this late in the season?
Yeah, I would say the comparison starts there with being able to generate a basket, maybe even outside the confines of what you're trying to do on a particular possession. But it probably, ends there too, in terms of their games, their approach. They got different games, but in the end, both of them, are scorers. Both, Josh plays the point, but he's a scoring point guard, and Teddy's, I don't know what position he is or was. He can play most positions. He's just a scorer by trade, and definitely can see the comparison that way.
Yeah, got another one on Josh here. We were talking on Saturday after the game a little bit about just with him having 3 explosive games in a row, and defenses are he's the focal point of everybody's prep. So what does that mean for some of the other guards in terms of the way they have to not necessarily step up, but sort of complement him going forward here?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily the other guards. I just think it creates space for all of us, forwards included. Our offense has gotten better. Certainly still, work in progress, but we're more efficient this year than we were last year. We're running our offense at a higher level, and hopefully it will continue to get better. Even like a guy like Tulu, people aren't auto-doubling him, as much as they used to. So, he's got, more space. And speaking of Tolu, most of you probably aren't aware of this, but he suffered a pretty serious fall on Friday at practice. One of those where the gym gets eerily quiet because it was a very awkward fall, and it didn't look very good. And it was probably halfway through, and he obviously spent a bunch of time in the back with the trainer, and we tried to resume practice, which eventually we did. So it was touch and go, as we got closer to the game, if he was going to be able to play. Fortunately, he survived, any major damage. We had x-rays immediately, and, had different people, look at the x-rays, and just to give him some peace of mind with his history, et cetera. And then at the end, he decided to, play for his team, and he left it out on the floor, and I was real proud of him for doing that.
We'll go second row to coaches left. Go ahead.
Coach, you got senior day on Saturday. Can you just speak on the impact you think this senior class has had on the program?
Yeah, senior day is always an interesting day. I probably said this last year. I've seen a lot of different reactions, some good, some bad. And we're hopeful that, everybody can enjoy senior day, the ones that are participating. But it's so different now than it used to be. Last year we had, a couple seniors walk on senior day, and they're back in their Bulldog uniform, and you just never know, how everything's going to turn out. But it's a special day, and it's a day that, that they deserve to be able to walk out with, their families or some of their families, whomever is able to be there with them and to be acknowledged for their commitment to our program and to being a Bulldog. And for me, obviously, you want to enjoy it and it's important. But at the same time, we want to make sure we keep our emotions in check and we're ready to play when they throw the ball up.
Got time for a few more. We'll go second row to coach's right.
Coach, I want to get your thoughts on Isaac. He's a kid that's kind of a fan favorite, especially in the ball games. When you have a big lead, people are chanting his name and wanting him in there. And obviously with his last name, just what's it been like to have Isaac on the team the last couple of years?
Yeah, he's been a positive influencer on our basketball team since I arrived. Just to be brutally honest with you, when I first got here and I heard there was a Stanbery on the roster, I'm like, okay, well, how's this going to go? But it's been great. He is all about the right stuff, and what I love most about him is he gets into his role. He tries to do whatever he can to help the team. And every coach in America talks about that. Whatever your role is on this team, how many minutes you're getting or not getting, do whatever you're doing to the best of your ability. And he embodies that. In practice, he practices hard. He practices right. He's a big part of our scout team, and he picks up things at a high level, which is huge. It's important to have guys out there that realize the importance of what they're doing, that it helps us prepare and hopefully helps us, win games. And then equally important is when he gets in the game, he ain't trying to be one of those dudes that chucks one up from 40 feet and everybody's telling him to shoot it. He wants to play the game. He wants to play right. He wants to continue to try to play within the confines of what we're trying to do. And I respect him so much for that, because it'd be real easy to go down the other road and, chuck one up, like I said, and, make everybody, get excited and all that. But that's not in his DNA. He's a basketball player. He tries to play the game the right way, and he's been a big positive for us since we've been here.
Steph, and then Paul, wrap us up.
A couple questions on Tulu. You mentioned the scare on Friday. Is that anything that you feel was going to linger throughout the season, or is he 100% okay?
Yeah, he's 100% okay. He may have some soreness, and things of that nature, but there's nothing wrong structurally, and he didn't, actually injure any major part of his body. It's just the fall was pretty scary, pretty awkward, and two big guys kind of got tangled up, and he fell, and it hurt, and you could tell it hurt, and so you just didn't know, but. When I watched the replay of the game or even live, he didn't complain about anything during the game, and he didn't ask to come out. And from the information I've gathered from the trainer, he's good.
Yeah, and on the theme of senior day on Saturday, just with everything Tolu's overcome in his career and his commitment, to staying when there was a change in his staff, I guess just how much does he mean to you and this coaching staff, as he gets ready for his last game at the Hump?
Yeah, there's a lot of big moments, and when you do this, the highs are pretty high and the lows can be pretty low, and you usually remember, the extremes. And I don't think I'll ever forget when I got the phone call from him that he was going to remain a Bulldog. I know exactly where I was and exactly what I was doing and the emotions that I felt, and it was a pretty big moment. For our program, and to share that with him was something I'll never forget, and it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good that, he wanted to finish his career as a Bulldog, and we had done enough as a staff, to convince him that, he can continue to be the kind of player that he wants to be and strives to be, and, because kids have decisions to make this day and age. And that's one of the things that I talked about a lot in the fall is, we're proud of the fact that, the majority of our guys, even when we got here, inherited, the ones that we were trying to, re-recruit, came back, all but one. And then even last year, to have 5 starters all make the commitment to return, made everybody feel good inside of our program. And certainly when it comes to someone of Tolu's magnitude and, even though he wasn't in the portal, the type of places that he probably could have went to if he chose to actually go in the portal. So he's a special player, a special kid, and certainly appreciative of him and the relationship that we have, and certainly look forward to continue it, when he's done with us.
Obviously, you're focused on your team in your last two games of regular season, but you've gone through the gauntlet of the SEC and played pretty much all the top teams twice. Just as I know you're not focused on this as much with your own team, but just the way the SEC is played out coming down the stretch with so many, we saw it this weekend with so many heavyweight matchups, and then this week you got it again, everybody trying to fight for the SEC championship. It's just one of the, you've already talked about the SEC being tougher this year, but have you seen it like this in any conference, I guess, with the Tennessee and Auburn and Bama and Kentucky and South Carolina just going back and forth the last 2 weeks trying to fight for a championship?
Listen, when you're doing this, at least for me, whatever league I was in, that was the most important league in the country. And I felt like that. And I would imagine a lot of coaches feel like that. When I was a junior college coach, that program I had, that was Duke to me. And I treated it that way. It wasn't like, oh, nobody cares, nobody's paying attention. That's not how we did our jobs. And so if I think back to my time, as an assistant coach at other places, I was in the Valley for a long time, and the Valley is an unbelievable league, and I was in there when you could call it, at least for a while, its heyday with, 3-4, teams getting into the NCAA tournament, and going down the stretch, there were some hellacious battles going on to win the conference because it's meaningful. But now, obviously, being in the SEC, it'd be easy to say, I've never experienced anything like it because of the names on the front of the jersey. But to be honest with you, I don't think about that when you're in the middle of it, or even remotely part of it somehow. And so, we're not in it. So really, I really don't care, to be honest with you, who wins the league or who doesn't. I'm not paying that much attention to that part of it. I want us to be in it. I want us to be fighting for an SEC championship going down the stretch. So there's a part of me, that's disappointed that way. But, we didn't do enough to be in that conversation. That's just reality. We never got ourselves in position to be able to do that. We've got to, win more games to be in position to do that. And that's where we're trying to do and what we're trying to go. But, it'll play out the way it does. But certainly, I'm sure for the fans and their fan bases, it's an exciting time.